The jungle breathed around Leela's village. Towering trees stood like ancient guardians, vines snaked between them thick as pythons. The air hung heavy and sweet. Leela loved it. She knew the jungle's secrets. The calls of exotic birds were her music, the scent of wild orchids, her perfume. Leela lived in a small hut with her parents. It sat near the edge of the village, closest to the jungle's embrace. Her father, a weathered man with eyes like a hawk, taught her the ways of the forest. Her mother, gentle and kind, wove stories of spirits and shadows. Leela cherished these tales. They whispered of the jungle's magic, both beautiful and terrible. Life was simple, a peaceful rhythm guided by the sun and the moon. Days were spent gathering fruits and berries, their vibrant colours a feast for the eyes. Nights were filled with laughter and firelight, stories dancing in the flames. Leela felt safe, cocooned in the jungle's heart. She never imagined that darkness could touch their haven. But the jungle kept secrets, hidden deep within its emerald embrace. Ancient primal forces stirred in the shadows, waiting for the moment to rise. The night came without warning. A suffocating stillness choked the air, silencing even the crickets' chirps. The moon, usually a beacon in the velvet sky, hid behind a veil of thick, swirling clouds. An unnatural silence descended upon the village, heavy and ominous. Leela awoke with a gasp, her heart pounding in her chest. Something was wrong. A cold dread seeped into her bones, chilling her to the core. She heard her parents whispering urgently, their voices laced with fear. She had never heard that tone before. It sent shivers down her spine. A low hum vibrated through the air, growing steadily louder. It was a sound that defied description, a guttural throb that seemed to emanate from the earth itself. The ground trembled beneath her feet. Fear, raw and primal, seized Leela's heart. She clung to her parents, seeking comfort in their embrace, but the comfort was short-lived. A blood-curdling shriek split the night, followed by another and another. Panic erupted in the village. People screamed, their voices laced with terror. The jungle, once a source of comfort, had become a hunting ground. Leela's father pushed her and her mother towards their hut. "Stay here," he commanded, his voice tight with urgency. He grabbed a spear, his face grim. "No matter what you hear, do not come out." He disappeared into the swirling darkness, his silhouette swallowed by the shadows. Leela and her mother huddled inside the hut, fear a living presence in the suffocating air. They listened as the chaos unfolded outside. The screams continued, punctuated by sickening crunching sounds and guttural growls that turned Leela's blood to ice. Then silence. A terrifying, absolute silence that was somehow louder than the screams. Leela's breath caught in her throat. Her mother, her face ashen, held her tightly. They waited, each heartbeat an eternity. But the only sound was the blood rushing in Leela's ears. Time blurred. How long they huddled there, Leela couldn't tell. But the silence remained, broken only by the whisper of the wind through the trees. A dreadful certainty began to dawn in Leela's heart. Her parents were gone, taken by something unseen. Something monstrous. Dawn painted the sky with hues of blood orange and bruised purple, a gruesome dawn for a broken village. Leela stepped out of the hut, her small hand clutching a wooden doll, her only solace. The village was eerily deserted. Huts stood empty, doors ajar, as if their occupants had vanished in an instant. A heavy silence hung in the air, thick with the ghosts of screams and the stench of something metallic. Leela wandered through the deserted pathways, her bare feet barely making a sound on the packed earth. She called out for her parents, her voice small and trembling, but only the echo answered. She searched every corner, every familiar face, but she found only emptiness. The villagers were gone, their laughter, their stories, their very presence erased. The village that was once her whole world had become a graveyard of memories. The jungle, once her playground, now loomed menacing and cold. The leaves seemed to whisper secrets in the wind, secrets too terrible to comprehend. Leela was alone, utterly alone. Section 5. Twisted Shapes in the Dark. As dusk began to bleed into the sky, painting the jungle in hues of blood and shadow, fear gnawed at Leela's insides. The silence was no longer empty. It pulsed with hidden menace. Shapes moved at the edge of her vision, just beyond the reach of the dying light. She ran, her small legs pumped, her bare feet slapping against the hard-packed earth. She didn't know where she was going, only that she needed to escape the growing darkness and the horrors it concealed. The jungle, once familiar and comforting, had become a labyrinth of terror. Twisted figures emerged from the shadows, their bodies contorted into unnatural shapes. They were once villagers, she realized with a sickening lurch in her stomach. Their eyes glowed with an eerie light, their mouths stretched into grotesque smiles, revealing rows of needle-sharp teeth. They reached for her with twisted claws, their moans a chorus of despair and hunger. Leela dodged their grasp, her heart pounding in her chest. She had to find safety. She had to find somewhere, anywhere, to escape this nightmare. Section 6. The Temple of Shadows. Stumbling through the undergrowth, driven by terror and adrenaline, Leela stumbled upon a clearing. Towering above the jungle canopy was a structure unlike anything she had ever seen. A temple, ancient and weathered, its stone overgrown with vines thick as pythons. It pulsed with a dark energy that sent chills down her spine. Fear warred with curiosity. The villagers never spoke of this temple, never dared to venture near this part of the jungle. It was a place of whispers and shadows, a place where the veil between worlds felt thin, but it was also a sanctuary, a potential refuge from the horrors that stalked her. Taking a shaky breath, Leela approached the temple. Vines snaked around her ankles like grasping claws, but she pushed forward. She had nowhere else to go. The temple doors, carved with grotesque figures that seemed to writhe and contort before her eyes, creaked open as if inviting her in. A wave of cold air hit her, carrying the stench of decay and something else, something ancient and malevolent. Leela hesitated, her hand hovering over the wooden doll clutched in her hand. But the creatures were closing in. The temple, for all its horrors, was her only hope. Section 7. The Devourer of Souls. The interior of the temple was a cavernous space lit by flickering torches that cast dancing shadows on the walls. The air was thick with the scent of decay and incense, a cloying, nauseating combination. Strange symbols and murals depicting scenes of sacrifice and otherworldly beings adorned the walls. Leela felt a presence here, a darkness that watched her every move. In the center of the chamber, resting on an altar of black obsidian, pulsed a sphere of swirling energy. It was a maelstrom of light and darkness, of creation and destruction. And as Leela watched, mesmerized and terrified, a figure began to solidify within its depths. It was vaguely humanoid in form, but its skin was composed of writhing shadows, its eyes burning embers of unholy light. Claws tipped its elongated fingers, and its mouth was a horrifying maw filled with needle-sharp teeth. The entity radiated power, a power that felt both alluring and utterly terrifying. The entity turned its gaze upon Leela, and a wave of pure terror washed over her. She wanted to scream, to run, but her feet felt rooted to the spot. The entity's voice, when it spoke, was a chorus of whispers, slithering into her mind like venomous snakes. "Come, child," it whispered, its voice a caress and a threat. "Join me. Become one with the darkness." Section 8. Lost in the Echoes. The entity reached for Leela, its shadowy hand extending like a living nightmare. She closed her eyes, clutching her wooden doll, a single tear rolling down her cheek. The darkness enveloped her, cold and absolute. She felt her will dissolving, her very being unraveling at the seams. The entity's laughter echoed through the chamber, a chilling symphony of madness and triumph. Leela, the once vibrant girl who loved the jungle's embrace, was gone, consumed body and soul by the darkness that had claimed her village. Only her doll remained, lying discarded on the temple floor, a silent testament to the horror that had unfolded. The jungle, now eerily silent, held its breath. The entity, its hunger momentarily sated, retreated back into its swirling sphere of power, waiting for its next victim. And in the whispers of the wind, in the rustle of leaves, the story of Leela, the lost child of the jungle, was passed on. A cautionary tale whispered in the shadows, a reminder that even in the heart of paradise, darkness can take root and claim all that is good.